Oh snap, Bitcoin crypto crash alert. It is Crux here with Crux of Crypto, and we have a pretty scary day. I whipped out the red lights because can't fade the bears on a day like today. The bears are in control. Bulls, we're starting to see a little bit of fight back, and I'm going to show you that in the charts here shortly. And I see a lot of OGs that have already asked questions. So you guys are here, you're early. About 10-15 minutes ago, before the stream started, I already see some questions that are coming in, and you guys are worried, and that's understandable. Crypto is not for the faint of heart, and it's like you're in a boxing match. You're in that 6th, 7th, 8th round. You just took another hit to the face, and by the time you get to the end of this fight, are you still going to be in, or are you going to be knocked out? So that's the whole thing about crypto, is everybody has a price. What is yours? So you should be accumulating at least on these dips. That's not financial advice. That's what I think you should be doing. I got my plan. You know, I told everybody, I think we're going to go as low as 40K. I know it sounds very scary, but 40K is still, it's still up there. It's still a possibility, and I don't want anybody writing that off. Do we go much lower than 40K? I highly doubt it. At that point, you're somewhat breaking the 4-year cycle, but I do still think the 4-year cycle is still intact, and I'll explain that just a little bit later. So let's go ahead and smash that like if this is your first time here. I'm Crux. I'm a fundamental analyst. I'm not going to whip out a ton of fancy charts, especially not this one. Right now is not the best time to be buying gems. We got to be upfront with ourselves. We need something that's going to survive a bear winter in case we do go into a bear winter. So that's something that I've been telling everybody, including the gem hunters. So you guys know I run a group called the Gem Hunters, and sometimes it's not the best time to be buying those gems. So always keep that in mind. There's a better time within, especially bull markets, to be buying certain caps. And then there's definitely a better time within bear markets to be buying certain caps as well. So risk to reward, always think of market cap as your safe haven. And it's okay to be nibbling at these prices, but always have a plan of action in case we go lower. So let's go ahead and jump into the current state of the markets. Actually, there's currently a poll going. Aave versus Uniswap. This video drops on Monday of next week. So I already wrote the script. I'm actually going to be recording it right after this. And then I have another video going out on Wednesday, which is, it's a pretty fun video. It's going to be about Thanksgiving. So it's going to be dropped a day before Thanksgiving, and it's going to be 10 different cryptocurrencies that I think are representative of different dishes at Thanksgiving. So if you guys have a food dish or food item, go ahead and put in the comments on what cryptocurrency that would represent. For example, Bitcoin could be turkey, or I don't know, maybe Solana could be cranberry. I think it'll be a pretty fun video for you guys to possibly show your family, and we're trying to spread the word of crypto here at the Crux of Crypto. So make sure you vote on that poll. Aave, Uniswap. I'm not going to tell you mine until I drop this video, but I'll tell you I own both of these projects, and I'm very bullish on both of them. All right, and also you see at the top, smash the like, hit subscribe, follow on X, and join our free Discord server. Link in the description below. Okay, let's move on to the biggest drop since 2022. So you saw it on the thumbnail. It's not clickbait. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I do clickbait my thumbnails a little bit in my titles, but I think it's fair as long as I get you guys in here to hear the real message. That's okay. But this time, definitely not clickbait. You had a 32%, drop from 126 all the way down to the 85.6 that we had today. So that's why you see a ton of red. There's a lot of red in these markets, but for the altcoin holders, it's not so bad, right? So we just had the biggest drop since 2022. And something very important to note, if you listen to Tim's cast like an hour ago, he went live, he goes live every Tuesday and Thursday, just an hour before mine for about 20 minutes. Current market update. You see Bitcoin dominant. So Bitcoin dominance in a bear market actually usually goes about sideways. So that's something very important to note. A lot of people think, if you're going through a bear market, it's much better to hold your Bitcoin than your altcoins, which it does make sense, yes, because Bitcoin falls less than alts within a bear market. But if we're already in a bear winter, right, and your alts are down 40, 50, 60%, then most likely from here, your Bitcoin is going to fall more than your alts because the alts have already bled. And to be fair, most alts will fall probably 90%. That's what happened in all other bear markets. But that's something that you want to look into, is what does a Bitcoin dominance look within a bear market? And it actually goes sideways, and sometimes it actually goes down. So Bitcoin dominance, as shown in this chart, we're starting to see it cave a little bit. I would like to see it hopefully go under the 50s, as I am very bullish on altcoins. Now let's go ahead and check out the current state of the markets, and then we'll jump into a couple trending cryptos. I'm not going to go heavy into these because I don't want you guys to ape into some gems. Now we're sitting barely above a $3 trillion market cap. That's not very good. That's not good at all. Now, if we go back to the start of this bull market, that's very solid because we were under $1 trillion back in 2022. So we're still up a 3x. That's something to note. I highly doubt we'll go below 2 trillion with it, even if we go full bear, we go full belly up, we have about $300+ billion already in stable coins. So there's a lot of liquidity that's never going to vanish within crypto markets at this point. And I think, withdrawing another 33% within these markets would be, at that point, you better just be back in the truck up and buying as much crypto as you can. My all-in spot is 40K. So I'll be nibbling before that on the way down. 40K is a huge number. And I talk about it in my video released. It's not just a number I'm pulling out of thin air. It's diminishing returns, diminishing losses. 70% pullback from 126 drops you down between 38,000 and about 42K or so. So that's my thoughts on the current state of the markets and also where we're headed. So let's jump into the trending cryptos real quick, and we'll jump into Q&A right after that. Bitcoin is clearly trending. Everybody wants to know, are we going to get to $85,000 today? That is a big number. 83K last year was a pretty big support zone. So I think we're going to wrestle with 83K for a little while. But after that, we have, I think, 73K. So we have a good amount of support within the next couple ranges. Now, I would not be going all in on these dips. I think it's fair enough to say that there's a high probability, at least a 60% chance, in my opinion, that we are in bear winter. And as somebody that bought 66,000 Cardano at $2.10, thinking I got a discount at 310 all the way down to 210 all the way, ended up riding 210 all the way down to like, I think 50 cents, or it went in the bear market. So that's kind of like possibly buying at these prices. You buy Bitcoin at 86K thinking you got a steal because it's 32% down, but then it ends up going all the way down to 40K, and you could have got double the Bitcoin plus for the current price. So always have a plan of action. I keep on saying that, but I want you guys to understand that. If you're here, you're doing yourself a very good service, because the people that are paying attention in bear markets actually do much better overall in macro conditions. So I'm actually excited. I know it sounds very weird. I think opposite of my emotions, and that's because Crux at one point lost 700K in 3 weeks. So at that point, I became somewhat numb to what crypto can do to you. To be fair, let me preface this. I did make $1.3 million in 5 months, I think it was in the video. I broke it down, shared screenshots. I'm fully transparent, but I've gone through so much, and I want you guys to know you are not alone. That's the biggest thing to know, is somebody's out here with you. Someone's been here, through probably much more. There's people that's been way worse than me. I've seen people like leverage trading losing 20 million in a day. It's insane here in these markets. But overall, if you understand why you're here and there's a purpose, then you're going to do very well in these markets. So let's go ahead and look. Again, don't be jumping into these gems. ETH 6,900, stay away. EDL, I haven't heard of this one. I'm not going to look into anything that's outside the top 100, because I don't want you guys to ape into these. Pudgy Penguins, I think, is fine whenever you have time. Zcash, they brought ZK proofs to the table, which is a cool technology, but we have way more superior technologies. It is 2025, and we have technologies that are going thousands of transactions per second. So I'm not going to go buy something that settles at 6 to 7 TPS as a fork of Bitcoin, and it only brought one thing to the table, which is ZK proofs. You have technologies like Solana that have actually the same technology involved in their integrated within their network. So your point of sale, or the reason you want people to buy your product, isn't even unique anymore. So it's kind of like Ethereum, everybody rushing into Ethereum because they got smart contracts adopted. Well, Solana, Sui, all these other networks have smart contracts. So you better figure it out, Zcash, because all of these whales like Winklevoss twins, Hayes, Barry Silbert. There's people with a lot of money that are talking about Zcash right now, and none of them speak, in my opinion, at an educated level. All they say is, we perfected privacy. No, you didn't. First of all, you have to opt in. 25% of your users use shielding, which is your unique product. So it's like most of the people that use your network don't even use the privacy feature. So, you know, that's just my honest takes on Zcash. I would stay away from it. And again, I'm not fudding. This is Crux. I spent a lot of time researching, reading white papers to understand this stuff, to break it down for you guys. Moving on, we got some Tensor Grass. Grass is one that I think is okay, maybe to nibble on just a little bit. I wouldn't have over 1% of my portfolio in something that speculative. Aster, we're starting to move up into the perp dexes. We have not been able to see what Aster looks like within a very bullish environment. But if you look at this chart, so Aster dropped below $1 temporarily, but as it's starting to recover, honestly, this is a pretty bullish looking chart in comparison to all other cryptos right now. So Aster, the reason it has not done extremely well is because we haven't seen it in bullish conditions. This thing dropped in September. Since September, we technically had an okay month. October we had a solid month as well. November we got wrecked. So we did have an October. Moonvember got canceled, but Aster, I still think this is one of my top 3 asymmetric bets because we have not seen this in a bullish period, and it has done very well holding up against all other cryptos. And their fees, I looked into them yesterday, they're doing very well. They're actually up there with Lighter, and they're up there with Hyperliquid, toe to toe. We're talking $10 billion a day in generated revenue. This is an insane amount of volume for something that's sitting at $2.4 billion market cap. All right, so we got some Solana. Let's see. I don't know if y'all can see it, but I'm rocking the Solana shirt today. And I'm rocking the XRP hat because I got some news today and they're trending. I'll break that down here in a second. BitTensor Tau. I love Tensor. My favorite AI pick. If you have some BitTensor, throw some B's in chat. If you have some BitTensor Tau, throw B's in chat. XRP. All right, I'll drop that knowledge here in a second. SUI, ICP. ICP community has been at wit's end with the Kaspa community. As you know, there's a lot of communities in crypto that jump into both, and a lot of people came from ICP and are now diving into Kaspa. So ICP last bull market was very much known for being very scalable, but really they only have one breakout app. It's called Caffeine. Now, other than that, they have had issues with not just developer activity, but also with gaining user activity. So ICP, a lot of people are migrating to Kaspa, and the FUD is very real. So I'm not exactly sure why today they are trending, but I'm not a very big fan of ICP, and definitely as a Caspian, I don't like to get FUDded out, and that community is very vocal right now about a lot of people migrating to Kaspa. So speaking about Kaspa, I dropped a video yesterday, and you guys have sent some of my tweets to go viral. So I've had a couple tweets in the past week or so hit about 200 likes, and it's because I broke down vProgs. Crux, what is vProgs? I'm not going to break it down too much for you right now. Just know that this is a revolutionary technology. Think smart contract worthy. Think Oracle worthy. Think top tier use cases in crypto. We have something called vProgs. Kaspa, we're first to market on this. We brought you GhostDAG, completely changed it, the way that digital ledgers work, the way that they run with GhostDAG. We brought you Crescendo, which increased that block DAG's throughput from 1 block per second to 10 blocks per second. And now we got vProgs, which in a sense, somewhat, quote unquote, replace smart contracts, which is absolutely crazy. We don't have many blockchains that do this. And again, I've done over 50 deep dives. Kaspa is actually innovating stuff. It's not copy and paste using VM, Ethereum virtual machine for everything. Kaspa is innovating. They are different. And I want you guys to know that. So shout out all you guys that have been supporting my work. And you can see the fruits of my labor right here. I did deep dives on Zcash right here. I did deep dives on Tau, Jupiter. There's Kita, Aster, Hype. Kaspa is amongst all of it. You guys are definitely pushing my content. I definitely want to give you guys a shout out. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into some Q&A. I was a little long-winded there, but I'm sure you guys want to get some questions answered. All right, so Dagestan is asking if I have dabbled in any BitTensor subnets yet. Go back. Okay, so no subnets as of now. Bear market, possibly. If we get further into a bear market, I'll wait for these things to really crash and crumble, and then I'll probably buy some blood. I'm not done with altcoins, though. I will be very honest with you guys. Fragmentation has absolutely shredded Ethereum as a whole, because the entire Ethereum ecosystem is competing amongst itself. So now Bitcoin dominance does not have to, well, so now you have that much further spread between Bitcoin and Ethereum, which is huge, because that's usually a way that we start alt season, is you'll see a lot of market cap go from Bitcoin to Ethereum, then it goes to Solana, XRP, then the mid caps and the low caps, and then everything sends. We have not had that, in my opinion, because Ethereum has been fragmented and people buy Arbitrum or Optimism instead of Ethereum. So I think that has been a major issue, is the fragmentation. And yeah, so going forward with alt seasons and alt's next bull market, I'm not going to be so bullish on alts. You got to be very selective, very, very, very selective, because in the year 2026, whenever we possibly start rallying again, or 2027 possibly, let's just say 2026 bear market, 2027 we start rallying all the way into 2029, just like 4-year cycles have it. Imagine another SUI coming out. You know, former meta engineers, they come through, they're supposedly the Solana killers, which Solana came out, they're supposed to be the Ethereum killers, and all these killers come out of the woodworks, and it's copy and paste cryptos for the most part. All of them are copying Ethereum's virtual machine and smart contracts. And it's like this competition is eating away at us alt holders. Like, how do you pick the right one? You essentially got to get lucky or know how to do the research. So that's something I teach in the Bros Academy. Is not all projects are the same. You got to understand, what are the tokenomics, what are the team, especially the emission schedule. Are you going to get dumped on? There's a lot that goes into this stuff, and there's a way to research it. So what up, Crux, is Derek? Hey, what's up, brother? Robert says, I'm absolutely sure he's doing some last minute deep diving. Usually before these live streams, I do some deep diving into the trending cryptos. But again, I don't want to go into the trending cryptos today because I don't want you guys getting wrecked. A lot of those trending cryptos, let's take a quick look again, are ones that I would not touch with a 10-foot pole. So ETH 6900, that's probably a meme. So I've heard of Tensor. That's not a bad pick overall. You got some scaling solutions in a Stark net. I just told you guys I'm not a big fan of scaling solutions. A lot of these, well, actually most of these will probably survive bear winter. So that's something to consider. You want to be buying stuff that possibly is going to survive a bear winter. All right, let's read a couple more questions and then we'll move on to some news. Crypto will be all right, says Carl. I agree. I'm still holding all my bags. Haven't sold a single Satoshi, and that's okay. You know, if I know not everyone got great buys like I did, and that's okay. It's a lot of times people in crypto, it's the moment that they see themselves break negative, they either sell or they never come back. And those are usually the people that regret their decision. So, you know, hodling, especially for at least 4 years, you should do well overall. Even if you bought at today's price, you're going to do very well if you hold for 5 years. Sharknado says, crypto will be fine if you are in top money making alts. Solana is holding quiet. Well, right now versus Bitcoin, right. So that's something I did talk about earlier. Bitcoin dominance is big. A lot of people think Bitcoin's getting shredded. We are so used to seeing Bitcoin go up this bull market. Our alts kind of went even with Bitcoin, but anytime Bitcoin would go down, our alts got swacked. We were so used to seeing that, but we are in a completely different environment right now. We are in a possible bear market. So again, alts have already took their hit, their major hit. From here on out, it's probably going to be very relative to whatever Bitcoin does, your alt's going to do. So what I wouldn't do is sell my alts and buy Bitcoin right now because the alts already took the hit. If anything, I'd probably sell my Bitcoin and buy some alts. So that's something to consider. A lot of people would disagree, but that's fine. I mean, we all have our preferences. Made it to the live show. What up, Crux? Wait, what up, Ken? Hope all is well, brother. We got some B's in chat. BitTensor. So if you got some BitTensor, I told you guys to throw some B's. Daniel, Dagestan. We got Max. I see Max is actually in a long right now. So Be careful, Max. I think that's actually a pretty smart play. You know, this 85, well, 86K area is actually looking pretty good with support. So, Insane Clown Posse ICP, says Ken Monster. Yeah, I don't think that's the right ICP, brother. Maybe. Angel says, Crux, I wanted to ask you, is Mamo and Aether considered solid projects to hold through bear winter? If that scenario plays out, should I take, lose, and convert to a solid project? Good question, Angel. And what I will say is, don't just limit it to these two projects. So we have Mamo and we have Aster. These two are being talked about, or not Aster, but Aether. So first of all, always look at market cap and use that in your terms of what is the best risk, or what is the least risk that you're taking. So for example, you have XRP. This has a higher market cap than Dogecoin. That means XRP is going to be the less risky project. But then you have something that's a beautiful technology. It has subnets. It's changing the way decentralized artificial intelligence works. Tau, they release these subnet dog, and they're not going to let go. So meme communities have sprouted out of nowhere. And just because the use case isn't as cool, it doesn't mean it's going to be more risky. So I think that's something that's kind of been burned within our brains is, you know, Fartcoin or all these different meme communities, Toshi, etc., have come in, and a lot of them gotten wrecked, and they think everything is the same within that niche, and it's not true. Market cap is your number one indicator for what is risky in crypto, and investing in general. So, all right. And Angel, kind of to wrap that one up, Aether, I think I think both of them are solid holds. I hold both of them, Aether and Mamo. AI agents do seem to be the wave. If you want to de-risk out of Mamo, I would just go ahead and grab virtuals instead, swap it out for virtuals. First of all, Mamo is an AI agent created on virtuals, but also like with the base network, across the next year, or speculation on whenever they'll drop their base token, I'm starting to lose a little bit of motivation as far as the aerodromes, the morphos, and a lot of the beta plays built on that ecosystem, just because I don't know how the base token is going to influence that ecosystem. So if anything, I would 100% hold my Aether. I think that's my fourth favorite AI pick. I love it. But Mamo, if you want to de-risk, I'd put that one into virtuals. Bewilled says, good question. I have the same regarding Aero and Aviant, or Avantis rather. So yeah, all that's I just said to Angel. Bewilled. Now, Avantis is different. Avantis is a perp dex play built on the base network that does get its liquidity from a lot of those top dexes. Well, actually, no. So I did the analysis last Tuesday, and Avantis was a top 15 perp dex, which is pretty good. Like perp dex is the new wave. Unfortunately, we didn't get to ride it long enough into this bear market, but it's a new wave as of Aster. But we're starting to see a lot more competition there. So, and also make sure you tune into my Uniswap versus Aave video, because I'll talk about how that how V4 Uniswap, and that's going to affect all of these other plays. So I currently hold AVNT. Avantis is the ticker, Bewilled, and I'm not letting go of mine. All right, so Angel says, I have Arrow too. All right, so if you guys have any other questions, go ahead and throw them. I see a couple more, but I'm going to jump into some news because I haven't even started, and we're almost 30 minutes in already. So, yeah, I went through that. XRP, you see me rocking the hat. With a bit over 3 hours left into trading, Bitwise's XRP is almost at 22 million. So I'm pretty sure they got at least about $25 million in trading today. And it's very impressive for the second product to market a full week after Canary Fund's XRPC, which is a ticker, which is the #1 launch by volume this year. So we know that, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, you had Litecoin, you had Hedera, and you had a third one, Solana, I believe. Yeah, Litecoin, Hedera, Solana, those all dropped this year. XRP just said, move out of the way. We're pushing through. We're going to take all the, but I mean, you can see it in the market cap. XRP is a real project. People love it. Institutions love it. Retail love it. It's not going anywhere. So shout out XRP. If you got some XRP, throw X's in chat. XRP Army, stand up. I got one more thing on XRP because we got some competition headed our way. I mean, technically, we are the competition. We're trying to get rid of SWIFT, but SWIFT is not done putting up a fight because breaking. Citi and SWIFT Bank just wrapped a trial that settled payments between fiat and digital currencies. They used USDC plus blockchain plus Swift's messaging system to prove real interoperability is possible. So, Swift, $5 trillion a day in global payments, very inefficient in its current state. However, as of this month, they are fully ISO 2022 compliant with FedNow and basically the inner workings of the monetary system. So, XRP is not playing ball with Swift. They are competing against Swift, which is very, I mean, if there's any institution in the world to not compete against, it is Swift. So we will see if XRP pulls it out. I mean, there is a possibility they both coexist. There's no, one has to exist and the other doesn't. I'm still going to continue to fight on behalf of XRP, but I'm not going to count Swift out because, again, they already have the lead and they chose to actually adapt into the digital ledger system. So that was very smart of them. All these, so here's a pretty big misconception with crypto. Everyone thinks the way that our monetary system works is going to be completely replaced, but I doubt it. So if you look at Visa, if you look at MasterCard, they are adopting these technologies. Go look at Kita. So that, a lot of these partnerships are happening with blockchain technologies. It's not like they're just going to automatically vanish. They are evolving, which is very smart. They have billions and billions of dollars within their networks. They're not just going to give it up. So crypto, it's here to stay, but a lot of these institutions are evolving with it. So Coinbase, that's another institution I like to talk about. If you believe in something, this one's for you. So currently, you have Bitcoin backed loans. I want to say it's over $500 billion or something, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, $500 million, if I'm not mistaken, worth of backed Bitcoin loans through Morpho vaults. Coinbase just came through. Today, we are offering some ETH-backed loans. So the second biggest cryptocurrency, hundreds of billions in market cap, are allowing you to use that cryptocurrency to back your loans. With the Bitcoin ones, I know they were up to, I think, $100,000. So that's something important to note is, Crux, when would you take a loan in crypto if you were to do it? So what you can do is you can lend out your Ethereum, you can get your loan, and a lot of people, they take this loan and they go reinvest it into crypto. Why do I think it's not a good time yet to do that? Because we have not fallen enough, in my opinion. So I think the only time it's ever worth, and again, this is not financial advice, but this is somebody who's been there, done that. I've taken over $55,000 worth of loans against my Cardano. So I had 6 figures worth of Cardano, put it in Celsius, loaned, took 55K, put that into Cardano, been there, done that. So last bull market, I made a lot of money doing so, and then it went back to break even, and I got out of my loan, and I learned my lesson. So first of all, the worst part is once you borrow against it, if your asset is going down, eventually you'll get liquidated unless you put more of that asset in there. So what I would, again, not financial advice, what I would do is wait till Bitcoin's at like maybe 50K, anywhere between like 60 and 50K. So rule 1, the asset needs to have some value remaining in it. But also rule number 2, it needs to be somewhat close to a bottom. So if Bitcoin goes from 126K all the way down to 60K, you already lost half the value. That's the best time to borrow against it because the liquidation is you're much safer from getting liquidated in that sense. And then you could do that. So just to kind of go off of this story here, Ethereum, I know a lot of you guys are degens. You're going to go borrow against it, but do it responsibly if you're going to do so. And shout out Coinbase as well. So Coinbase just listed Aster, their biggest competitor. This is a pretty big story. Aster is making its rounds. We saw that last month in October, CZ, he called out, so he didn't call out Brian Armstrong or Jesse Pollock name by name, but he called out Coinbase. And Coinbase was not listing any of their tokens. There's no BNB tokens that were listed on Coinbase. And CZ's like, what's going on with this? And notice CZ waited until he was pardoned before he started applying pressure to Coinbase. So Coinbase, by trading volume, is not a top 10 exchange. They're a big player because of their regulatory front. They focused on regulation, and that's why a lot of people respect them. not a lot of people are using them in terms of actual trading activity because their fees are fairly high. So people just run off, use a VPN, and trade however they're going to trade. So, and speaking of VPNs, we got NordVPN, which is currently on a Black Friday deal. What you can do is use my link below, up to 77% off. As soon as you click that link, click get the deal, then you'll see 2-year plans and then 1-year plans. So the 1-year plans are up to 72% off, and then the 2-year plans are up to 78% off. So with VPNs, you can change your location. So if somebody was to see, you could possibly put it to Arizona, Mexico, just really anywhere in the world. And from that geographical location, you can actually change stuff like as if you're watching a streaming service. They may have different options for you. So it's not so much just about hiding your protection. There's a lot of different advantages you can get. And also, if you have the Prime like I do, you have the password locker, which is pretty cool. So that's something where you don't have to remember all your passwords. You can just put, select the option to do so. It'll create one for you. And honestly, no one's going to guess these because these are random numbers, letters, or typically not words, symbols, etc. So I love using NordVPN. I use it every day to secure myself, and I strongly recommend you give them a shout out. 78% off the 2-year plans, 72% off the 1-year plans. What do you have to lose? So that link is in the description below. All right, so moving on to my next story, and then we will go ahead and jump back into some Q&A. Got to give another shout out to the cast community, Igra Labs. So I talked about vProgs. I think vProgs are going to take, at a minimum, and again, I don't have any evidence on this, about a year, maybe even a year and a half to actually deploy these things. So I'm already thinking 2027 for these vProgs, or maybe late 2026. But again, they're here to replace smart contracts. It's a big story. Igra Labs just released this article late November. Open source begins. So that's huge. We finally got a date on this. Igra Labs is creating smart contracts for Kaspa. So now we have a programmable layer where we can create artificial intelligence apps. We can create a lot of different just use cases in crypto. Everything revolves around smart contracts, real world assets, etc. So January, we have a testers and TGE, and then February, we have the whitelist, mainnet, and liquidity. So, Q1 next year is going to be very bullish overall. And it's just nice to see our network thriving. Obviously, it's much easier for me to do this and stand up here and engage with you guys because I like Q&A more than I like the news. So even as a fundamental analyst, the news is super important, so I bring you what's relevant to understand what's going on in these markets. But I have a blast up here answering y'all's questions. So I love what I do here. This is, again, one of those moments where people preach like, if you do what you love to do, you'll never work another day in your life. And that's where I'm at right now. So I'm standing in front of you. I'm super confident. I'm happy. And you see like the markets are red. You see people all over Twitter just doom scrolling and doom posting, and in crypto, it's opposite of your emotions. I'm telling you, the better you are controlling your mental, in the opposite direction, the better you will be overall. So I released a video on how I plan on acquiring 1 Bitcoin in around November of 2026. So I've already been saving for months, and I'm going to get this Bitcoin. And that's how I'm already thinking. I'm not looking at my portfolio. I'm not refreshing every 2 seconds. I'm thinking about that Bitcoin that I'm going to acquire. And honestly, you only need 0.1 Bitcoin. And I break it down in that video. If you don't know what I'm talking about, make sure you watch it. It's actually a pretty good video. So Angel says, I love XRP, my first crypto since 59 cents. You were in XRP probably in about, you might have been in there in the 2017 bull market because it was much higher than that. Also, last bull market, it did break well above 59. I think my first XRP was about 20 cents, if I'm not mistaken. So, XRP last bull market got flooded to heck. They were in front of the SEC. They're paying hundreds of millions of dollars to defend this case, and they came out on top, and I appreciate what they did for all of crypto. Aaron, we got some X's in chat with Mike. Good to see. We got some XRP army. We ain't going nowhere. And that ETF that we got is over 25 million today just from that one ETF. We are starting to see a lot of liquidity flowing in, and I love to see it. Giovanni says Aerodrome better than Aave and Uni, and that is a lie. So Giovanni, I love you, bro. Thank you for being here and supporting the channel. Aerodrome in no way is better than Aave and Uniswap. So I hold Aerodrome. I like what I see there. Coinbase is cool, but I could bring it up and I can show you Coinbase is barely outside the top 15 centralized exchanges in trading volume. The base ecosystem, I mean, the base ecosystem's definitely growing. I'll give them that. But Morpho, like their trading vaults, heavily relies on Coinbase. Most of their decentralized network actually relies on their centralized network. So it's very interesting how they're running stuff over there. I would not stack that up against an Aster or Hyperliquid. Definitely not a Uniswap. Uniswap, they're pulling in a ton in revenue and fees. Uniswap is it's a drop in the bucket. And again, I'm speaking on behalf of analysts out here who actually look at the back end of fees, revenues, and these types of things, which are the most important metrics whenever you're determining what is a good hold. So again, Aerodrome, much lower market cap, so I'll give you that. It could be, I'll give you this, it could be the better asymmetric bet. And I would say up until October 12th or whenever the mass liquidation event happened, Aerodrome was the better asymmetric risk. But if you noticed, Uniswap dropped 50% in that day, which is absolutely crazy for any major cryptocurrency to drop 50% in a single day. Uniswap, of all cryptocurrencies that were major, was the one that stuck out to me, and that's the reason I bought some of that dip. So I bought like $2,000 worth of Uniswap on that day. It was like $250 that I bought it at, and it like instantly went back up. I don't know how I got that buy, but it was pretty dope. And that's what happens when you got dry powder and you're ready to take advantage of it. So Blazin says, what up, Crux? Appreciate you, my dude, and thank you. Yeah, appreciate you, Blazin. Thank you for being here. Aaron, Crux, if you had to hold 3 real-world assets long-term, what would you hold? If we're going Avalanche as a real-world asset play, we're going Avalanche, number 1. If we're going Chainlink as a real-world asset play, Chainlink, number 2. So those are iffy. I don't know if you want to count those. Third, I'm going with Ondo Markets, or Ondo rather. They have Ondo Global Markets, which is absolutely crushing it. They have more stock liquidity than X stock through Solana and any other one. So on paper, in my opinion, Ondo is going to be the best pure real-world asset play. And if we're not going to consider those two that I just talked about, Avalanche and Chainlink, I'm going second will be Aave. So Aave just last month released Aave, what's it called? Horizon, I think. Yeah, I think Aave Horizon. Check it out. But now they're actually in the real world asset space. And Aave, of all apps in crypto, we're talking $25 billion in TVL. So Aave, they have the liquidity there. They're probably going to borrow against some assets. We'll see what they do. But they're entering the real world asset space. So I love to see it. And then third, I'm going to go with the gem. We got Plume. So if you got some Plume, you guys already know, if you've been following my channel for a while now, Plume is probably sitting at over $400 million, excuse me, in total value lock, which is very good for something that's sitting sub 300 mil market cap. So I like what I see with the team over at Plume, and I am not done hodling my Plume. So there are 3 good real world asset plays. Aaron, Mike says, I'm long on XRP. Yeah, definitely have a plan. Took half profit at 3. See, look, he already has a plan. Mike, you are amongst the best. Angel, October 3rd, 2024, I bought some XRP. Okay, so 2020, that was this cycle. Yes. Nice, Angel. Well, you definitely got in well before the Gary Gensler launch. So November of last year, the ISO 2022 Crave, Gary Gensler resigned. And you had XLM that did a 7x. You had XRP that did a 7x. You had really all the ISO 2022 compliant cryptos, like a Cardano did fairly well. My favorite was HBAR. HBAR did a 9x. So all you HBAR variants out there, if you're holding before November of last year, you got fairly rewarded. And we're talking within a month, did a 9x. So love to see it. ISO 2022 compliant cryptos were considered dead in 2024 leading up into that moment. So that's why you don't, if you're down on a crypto, you don't sell it at low and then put it into high. You want to do the exact opposite. You want to take profits from the ones that you made money on and then put it into the ones that haven't pumped yet. Also, you'll notice in bull markets, you'll have these weird pumps out of nowhere. Like, I think like a week ago, we had some weird cryptocurrency, like Zcash. Where did you come from? You were nowhere to be found until October of this year. Privacy cryptos have started pumping out of nowhere. These are usually short-lived. So if we go into another bull market, I can almost guarantee you all that liquidity that people made money from Zcash is going to flood into all these cryptos that just took a massive hit. So that's what happens with crypto. You know, they push these narratives. They want you to buy into this long-term, especially the OG whales and the quote-unquote cypherpunks. But overall, it's like it rotates. You have to be quick on your heels if you really want to make as much money as possible here. Now, if you're like me, I just buy a HODL on for like 4 years and I make money. So, all right. I won't even look at my wallet for a few days, says JR. Honestly, JR, I probably won't even look at my wallet for another year. I know it sounds crazy. What I have is what I have. Whatever happens, happens. I've already committed to acquiring that one Bitcoin at 40K, and I'll be super happy if I can get it. So that's my mission. I ain't doing anything with my current holdings. What's refreshing going to do for me? It's only going to mentally screw you up. So that's something else to consider is find a plan, stick to it, and the more convicted you are on your plan, the easier it is to manage and navigate these markets. And at this point, you know, I am what the markets hate. I am a diamond hander for the projects I severely believe in. I can hold my I can buy my Kaspa at 8 cents, watch it go up to 20. I will ride it all the way down to 1 cent. I do not care. I'm constantly researching this stuff. I am super convicted in it. And I know what I hold. And eventually that project is going to move. Why? Because they do a lot more than every other. They're not a copy and crypto, not a copy and paste cryptocurrency. So that's what I do as an analyst. What is the one thing that each project does that sticks out? You know, and there's certain project like a Dogecoin. There is something that sticks out with Dogecoin. It is a fork of Bitcoin, but they created the meme craze, which is a first mover advantage. So you don't ever want to fade first mover advantages in crypto. And that's probably rule number one. So if you're the first proof of work network, buy it. If you're the adopted proof of work network, there was definitely ones before Bitcoin. If you're the first to get adopted with any of these first mover advantages, Zcash didn't create ZK proofs, but they were the first to get adopted. Get some. Ethereum got smart contracts adopted. Nick Szabo actually created them back in the 90s. Buy it. This is the type of stuff you want to get. Is what makes a crypto stand out, because eventually one of those things are going to be the winner, and you should be diversified. So, and then also remember, Bitcoin should be your biggest holding. That's lesson number 0.1 before lesson number 1. If you're holding Bitcoin, you got your best risk to reward. You got your 7x, 15.5. Was it a 9x? 15.5 all the way to 126. I think that's an 8x. Anyways, Bitcoin did very well in terms of multiples and had the least risk. So you could still make a lot of money on Bitcoin. So don't fade it. All right. I was very long-winded there. I see a lot more comments coming in. Appreciate all you guys showing the support, but we got to jump into some more news. All right. So here's a quick little chat. This is you. You made it to the top. Everybody's going to say you were just lucky. The FUDs, the bear markets, that stuff's going to drag you down. But believe, you have to believe if you're in crypto. This market is insane. We have possible Japan carry trade. This thing can tank at any moment. So as long as you're ready for those advantages, I consider them advantages, to where you have a possible recession or these different things that allow people to make money. What I was telling you is going to heck, then be like this guy. You know, just shake the dirt off your shoulders. Your family at Thanksgiving is probably gonna be like, hey, that Bitcoin thing you're talking about seems like a scam. You gotta let them know. The lower it goes, the more you should be buying. So, all right, let's look into a couple more articles and we'll jump into the last segment of Q&A and we will wrap this one up. MegaETH. So this is not your first time hearing about this project. If you've been watching my channel, I've been very, very, very vocal on fragmentation as of late. And it's mainly because of the way this cycle played out. 2021, actually 2020 into 2021, Polygon Matic was phenomenal. If you're around last bull market, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. The two big winners in terms of, well, I mean, Solana was a huge winner. Polygon Matic was a big winner. Axie Infinity and some gaming projects were good winners like Decentraland, Mana, etc. But fragmentation is here, y'all. You know, and honestly, they don't do much difference. So what people have done is they're trying to make as much money as possible and not have to do anything. That's the way I see it from a developer perspective. So all of these L2s, Arbitrum Optimism, SparkNet, like all of these L2s, all they do is compete with each other. So now we have MegaETH. What are you bringing to the table? Always ask the question, what are you bringing to the table different than everyone else? Otherwise, just write it off as they are creating a token out of thin air. They're pushing a use case, and the use case is gas or governance. There is no use case to these scaling solutions, and they're parasitic. They eat away at Ethereum's market cap. Instead of people putting $10 into Ethereum, they're going to go put into MegaETH thinking they're going to get rich. And now Ethereum can't compete with Bitcoin, and now we can't have our alt season. And that's exactly how crypto goes. So I'm going to just let you guys know MegaETH, it exists. Next week, if you go through a KYC process, and here's another thing I hate. If you go through a KYC process, guess what? You can get in early on this play. Why? Like, how does that make sense? Why are the institutions allowing you to do this? How does this already have a 250 mil market cap before November 25th when we get access to this? So not only do you have to be KYC'd, and I'll bring it up. Look, if you're within certain countries, the United States, we don't get access to this KYC. So which countries are on the restricted list? You got Afghanistan, blah, 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 blah. China, clearly China. United States are right here, look. I see like seed funds, ICOs, venture capitalists, they all invested, 250 mil market cap, then KYC, you guys get access to it. And then guess what? Eventually it hits the decentralized exchanges. This thing already has over $1 billion market cap, and now you get dumped on. And that's crypto over and over and over again. And don't fall for this trap, y'all. You know, MegaETH is not the next best thing since sliced bread. But I will tell you, if you want to try to ride the whales for a little bit, I think it's fair to get maybe a little bit of exposure, but have a plan to get out. You know, and that's usually what I talk about with the gem hunters. If you 2x your money, there's a possibility to 2x your money fairly quickly. Actually, at one point in the gem hunters, half of the plays I called 2x'd in under 48 hours. So I think there was 16 different calls, and technically 7 of the 16 calls that I gave did 2x in under 48 hours, which to me is a testament of good research and then also understanding the market. So that's, you can find plays like this that might not be fundamentally strong or even something that you're convicted in or believe in, but you can make money from it, especially meme coins, by the way. You know, if you have a plan to get out, 2x your money. Once you sell your 2x, you know, sell whenever your gut's telling you to. You know, cash out, put it into Bitcoin, but play with house money at that point, because 99% of these cryptos that you see on CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap is going to zero. Honestly, speaking from, so 2021, go look at the top 10. In November 2021, you already have Terra Luna. What happened to you? So no matter what position you get to, it could be a large cap crypto. 2 cryptos every bull market are going to get dropped out of the top 10. Insane. And if you look back in 2017, you have Ethereum, Bitcoin, XRP. And maybe Dogecoin, if I'm not mistaken, maybe Dogecoin. Everything else, whole different coin. I think you had like Sia coin, some random tokens. So don't think just because you hold a crypto indefinitely, you're going to make money. All right, we'll do a last little segment. We'll roll into some Q&A, and yeah. All right, so here's a quick little pitch. We have a trading group, we have an academy, and we have some gem hunters. So quick pitch for our Discord server. So if you guys know, I'm very active in our Discord, I promise you, you get in there, you'll see my name everywhere. I basically live in there at this point. These are all the different things we have available for, you know, whoever gets our memberships, and it's awesome. And also, we have a free Discord, so you don't have to go in there and get one of our memberships. You can go in there, ask questions, and I'll be there to answer them 24/7, no matter what. But if you want to support the team, we have a VIP trading group you just saw. You have Steve, Rufio, Silent. You have Tim. You have a lot of big traders, much better than me at trading, by the way, who can break down stuff, give you trade signals, trade setups. Myself, I do portfolio reviews, so not financial advice. I put myself in your shoes, and I do what I can do to see what changes I would make. So I've already done over 200 portfolio reviews with you guys, and I actually really enjoy them. So I'll sit down with you for an hour and talk about through what changes I would make in your shoes. It's pretty cool. The Academy is actually going to be, it's currently in a refining stage, but by the end of this quarter, most likely by the middle of December, we will be launching our Academy 2.0 in a sense. And it's going to be not only learning how to trade. So Tim teaches, I think it's like 40, 50 videos on how to trade from completely beginner all the way to pro. And then I teach you how to make the perfect portfolio. It's a 13 video series lesson. And then T-Shroom. So T-Shroom, he's a macro fundamental guru. He'll talk about the macro conditions globally and how to research them. So we got a lot going on here. If you guys have any questions, I run the Gem Hunters. And, you know, it's a very fun group in there. So make sure to check out the Discord if you have time. And then check out this video, Aave versus Uniswap. This one will drop probably Monday next week. And check out that poll if you haven't already. Currently, I think, let's go ahead and check out the poll right now, as a matter of fact. Wonder who is winning. Aave. Aave is winning. And I'm not, again, I ain't going to tell you guys which one I pick, but I will tell you this. I've already scripted it. I'm about to go record it right after this. One clearly wins. It's night and day. So right now, you know, you're like, okay, both these projects are good. It's the number one DEX, it's the number one borrowing and lending platform. Crux, you could not have made this any easier. One of them is a clear winner, and I'm gonna break it down for you. You know, if you just take my advice, add it to your, well, not my advice, take my recommendations, add it to your bags, and then you make the decision going forward. With that, I hold both. I would definitely recommend holding both. And cool. So I see a lot of people holding both in chat right now. Hi, JR, says Angel. All right. Need my Kita bags to pump, says Mike. I'm actually thinking about making a Kita video the week rather, after Thanksgiving. So there's two different videos. You guys asked me for part 3 of my 1K to 10K series. This is one I took in a hiatus off of, and I was honestly hoping that we would go into a bullish market before making episode 3. So what's going to happen in this video is going to be, I invest $1,000 in episode 1. I make some money going into episode 2. Episode 3 is going to be definitely losing money because we're in a bear market. We're in a bearish period and possibly a bear market. So I think there's a lot of lessons that we can learn within that video, even if I go under the $1,000. So very interesting to note. But also remember, I started that video series 3/4 of the way through a bull market. So that's something else to note. That's something I would not do, is buy a massive portfolio within a bull market. I would wait until a bear market to really load up my portfolio. But there's way more lessons learned when you watch the losses. So what is Crux going to do with his Kita that he is down 60% on in his portfolio? What is he going to do with his Aave? What is he going to do with his Aerodrome? I'm holding some bangers in that portfolio. So episode 2 I dropped like 2 months ago, and I try to put one every single month. And who knows, I might even start another video series after that one. But I think we're going to get that portfolio to 10K. It might take a couple years, but we're going to make it happen. Aaron says, be sure to like and share. I agree, Aaron. I'm here every Tuesday and Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, giving you the alpha. And appreciate all that you guys do. Steve just said, hello, Crux. Good luck, everyone. Definitely. Good luck with you. All right, B-Wild says, I only hold Arrow, going to stack up dry powder for the bear and create a real portfolio. Dumb to even hold Arrow right now. Should I swap it? So BWild, you have the same question a lot of people have. What I would definitely encourage you to do this time next year, expect a low. That is always expect the worst, plan for the worst and hope for the best. So you could expect, plan whatever for the worst, but hope for the best. And if you watch my video on acquiring 0.1 Bitcoin, that's all you have to do. 0.1 Bitcoin. Right now it sounds like a lot. That's about what, $8,000, maybe $8,500 for 0.1 Bitcoin. But if we go down to 4K or 40K, that is a $4,000 0.1 Bitcoin. So my plan, Crux's plan, is to acquire that $40,000, that one Bitcoin at this time next year. And if you think one cycle ahead in crypto, this is how I got 90% of my portfolio sub 25K Bitcoin this cycle. So always think one cycle ahead. You should be encouraged to save during a bear market and stop buying. Just please. You could buy some dips every now and then, nibble just a little bit, but please stop YOLOing into these bearish periods, because right now we're 4 for 4. 2013, 2017, 2021, 2025, all Q4 peaks so far. And there's a pretty good probability that we are not going back above 126K until earliest next year. So that's something else to consider. Most likely it's going to be 2027. So we're 4 for 4 there. And hopefully, I say hopefully, we'll be 4 for 4 on these retracements, these diminishing losses. 87% pullback 2014, 73% pullback in 2018, 77% pullback in 2022, and guess what? 70% pullback in 2026. Crux said it here first. You see the red in the room. Smash that like, hit subscribe. If this is your first time being here, welcome. I try to keep it real with you guys because I want you guys to make money and I want you guys to plan ahead. So on your way out, smash that like, hit subscribe, and join our Discord server. I'm there 24/7.